This session is called Redesigning Data to Go, an interactive session presented by Measure of America, a program of the Social Science Research Council. My name is Kara Waltzville. I'm a research associate with Measure of America, and I will let my colleagues introduce themselves, maybe starting with Alex and just going alphabetically.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Powers, Associate Director at Measure of America, and excited to work on revamping Data to Go. We've had for almost 10 years now. So over to Kristen.
Great. Thank you for the help with the alphabet. I was like, last names or first names. I'm Kristen Lewis. I'm the director and co-founder of Measure of America.
And hi, everyone. I'm Tara, and I'm a program assistant with Measure of America. And I'll pass it back to you, Kara.
First, I just want to start off by thanking the funders of this project, Blue Leona and then Harry Beach Helmsley Charitable Trust. And also thanks to you all for coming today. There's probably a lot of things you could be doing at 1 p.m. on a Friday, so we're really grateful to have you all here. Just a quick overview of what you can expect over the next hour. Kristen's going to start off by telling us a bit about Measure of America. I will give you an overview of Data to Go as well as the current Data to Go design. Alex will tell you a bit about how Data to Go has been used in action, and I'll take over and tell you about the updated version of Data to Go. We will join breakout groups where you'll answer a few of our questions that we have been wanting to get feedback on in terms of the refreshed version of Data to Go. We'll come back into the big room and share insights from the breakout groups in a big group discussion, and then we'll end at 2. So I'll just turn it over to Kristen for the next few slides to tell you about Measure of America.
Great. Thanks so much, Kara. So Measure of America is a project of the Social Science Research Council, which is a 100-year-old organization dedicated to kind of using knowledge for the public good. The project was founded around 2007 or so. We have 3, and we basically wanted to introduce to the US an idea that's been very powerful around the world in changing the way in which people understand and measure progress, the human development approach. I'll tell you about that in 1 sec. And we have 3 kind of main areas of work. We do something called creating human development reports. Those are those things on the top. We also do a lot of work in the area of youth disconnection. So those are young people 16 to 24 who aren't working or at school. So we write reports on that population. And then we have online data tools. And of course, Data to Go is one of those. So human development is basically an alternative to money metrics like GDP. So the traditional approach is to sort of measuring progress is to ask how the economy is doing. So that's the GDP. But the human development approach and index asks how are people doing? So it's really about human development is about the real freedom people have to decide who to be, what to do, and how to live. And as I mentioned, it was developed, this idea at the United Nations as an alternative to GDP. And it's a concept that's used all around the world to think about progress. And the idea of human development is really broad. It's everything that influences what you can do and be in your life. But that concept is very broad, as I say, hard to measure. So we measure human development using the Human Development Index. So in human development really is about expanding people's choices and opportunities. So everyone has a different starting point. Some people are born with a lot of choices and opportunities kind of baked in. Maybe they have affluent parents, they're in good health, they have access to all the resources they need. Others face a steeper climb. They perhaps have experienced a lot of adverse childhood experiences. Maybe they're in a group that's discriminated against and so forth. But the idea is basically that human development is about moving from constrained opportunities and choices to expanded choices and opportunities. And that's how you should measure progress, based on how well an individual person is able to kind of realize their own dream of a good life. And so the way it's calculated is, again, capabilities are really broad. They include like our ability to practice our religion, our our ability to affect the decisions that affect, to have a say in the decisions that affect us, our ability to live in a clean environment, and so forth. Again, hard to measure all those things. So we measure just these three areas: a long and healthy life, access to knowledge, and a decent standard of living. These are the sort of basic building blocks of a life of choice and freedom. And we use different indicators: life expectancy at birth, educational degree attainment and school enrollment, and median earnings. And then we create this index that's on a scale from 0 to 10. So in all of our products, this index features prominently. It's kind of the way in which we orient different places and racial ethnic groups in terms of well-being. And it's a big feature of Data to Go. We always have it, and you can see the Human Development Index for your place on the Data to Go as it exists now and in the future. And of course, we have lots of other indicators, and now Kara will talk about those things.
Thank you, Kristen. So Data to Go is one of our online tools that we're currently working to overhaul, and obviously what we're here today to talk about. And again, like Kristen said, HDI is definitely something that you'll see in some of the aspects of Data to Go that I'm going to show you. So first off, just a quick overview of Data to Go. It brought together for the first time federal, state, and city data on a wide range of topics important to the well-being of all New Yorkers. It includes over 300 indicators for community districts and 150 for census tracts. It harmonized disparate data sets and presented indicators by uniform geographies, and we also have point data for thousands of different facilities. It's meant to be intuitive and easy to use, comprehensive, informed by a holistic vision, sustainable, transparent, customizable, and importantly, designed for both data civilians and experts to be able to use. And lastly, it's meant to be accompanied by data clinics, and data clinics are short courses for NYC NGOs that cover the basics of how to use data for fundraising, program design, monitoring, and evaluation, and storytelling. So typically when you arrive at the current Data to Go homepage, this is what you'll see. Primary focus is this map of New York, laid out by geographies called community districts, but we also have some indicators by census tract. On the left, you'll see an indicator graph and the ability above it to select or search for different indicators. The homepage defaults to showing HDI, and particularly for the Upper West Side, because we kind of needed to default to one geography to start off with, and the Upper West Side has the highest HDI in the city. You are also able to click different areas of the map, and it will show you the HDI or the number for whichever indicator you choose for that geography. On the right side here, you can see this waffle chart that gives you a bit more detail about your highlighted geography, giving you a racial and ethnic breakdown, as well as components of the HDI, including life expectancy, median income, and post-secondary educational attainment. You're also able to download the data of your current view or share your current view via link on social media. Lastly, I just wanted to preview some of the categories of indicators that you can choose from. In the spirit of Open Data Week, the environment category has a lot of 311 data pulled from NYC Open Data's 311 calls dataset if you're interested in that. As I mentioned before, there are also features of interest that you can overlay on top indicator map as point data, which includes schools, parks, waste facilities, supermarkets, hospitals, and more. Another component of Data to Go is dashboards, which allow you to see different statistics for a community district at a glance. You're able to select a category at the top here, and it will change the types of data that you see. It defaults to HDI index, and each community district also has some descriptive text here on the left. You're also able to build custom dashboards and share them, where once you select a category, you can choose different modules to add to your dashboard. Here you can see a graph of the incarceration rate for Brownsville and Ocean Hill as an added module, with the bar representing Brownsville and Ocean Hill highlighted in pink, and the NYC average shown as the line across the graph. Lastly, the third tab of Data to Go is connections, which allows you to see relationships between variables that are correlated. This example is showing that there's a connection between life expectancy and median household income, and you're also able to highlight specific geographies within the graph. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it over to Alex now, and he's going to tell you a bit about how Data2Go has been used in the past.
Thanks, Kara. So we've, gathered information about local groups, individuals, hospitals, so on, using Data2Go to, testify before City Council on affordable housing, to put together community health needs assessments, for major hospital networks in New York City. We know that, different city agencies sometimes use it as a way to get data not necessarily that their own agency has, but data that other agencies have. It helps sort of bridge, or form connective tissue between the different arms of the city. It's also been recognized, by this White House Opportunity Project, and the Museum of the City of New York. You can see it on those iPads at that exhibit there that tied into an exhibit they had on census, the 2020 census. And then some of the work that we've done on looking at, neighborhood level outcomes, outcomes based on where people live. It was especially powerful for looking at high school graduation by where students live, and to look at the, sort of success of the major changes in school choice under the Bloomberg administration. And that research and work that we did as part of Data2Go ended up in the Times and a sort of series of reports on this. We also did use our other work or collaborations with local journalists. And yeah, there's one on cooling centers and, senior access to that. Next slide, please. And then we also did some work on how community boards were less representative of the communities that they represent in terms of ethnic and racial constitution. And then this one we're particularly proud of. We did a sort of deep dive on trauma deserts, so areas of New York City where people were far away from hospitals with trauma beds. And we found that, in southern Queens, there was a much higher chance of dying to a gunshot wound than in other parts of New York City. And that was picked up by, it was a collaboration that we did with the city and The Trace, which was a nonprofit newsroom focused on gun violence, which was picked up by candidates for Queensborough president and other advocates. And, just almost a year ago, time flies, the state announced a $150 million investment in Jamaica Hospital to enhance their trauma bed capacity. Back to Kara.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, so what's next for Data2Go? We are updating all of our existing indicators, and we're also planning to revamp our 2014 era design to be modern, cleaner, and faster. We're planning to consolidate Data2Go Health and Our Home into Data2Go. Those are two of our other data tools. We are planning on a new interface with thematic issue-focused dashboards, including health dashboards, and as well as carrying through the ability to customize dashboards. We're also planning to have enhanced changeover time indicators and visualization capacity, enhanced social media sharing, new geographies such as neighborhood tabulation areas, a slew of new indicators such as the prevalence of chronic health conditions, housing stability, COVID-19 indicators. We are planning to streamline our data processing / update process on the back end, and we're also planning to update our mobile version. Okay, so here is our current updated Data2Go homepage. These wireframes were developed with our longtime collaborator, Rustin Wu, so I just want to give him credit here. And as you can see, we've made a lot of visual changes, most significantly moving into light mode and decentralizing the map a bit. This direction, especially this colorway, is more in line with the visual language we use in our reports. And the map sits on the left-hand side now with the HDI histogram directly below it, and additional charts for HDI components are here on the right. The map also includes additional options now to break down by geography, race, and gender, though not all indicators can be broken down by all categories just based on limitations of the data, which is why you'll see some grayed out. We have also incorporated a new chart called a bee swarm that you can see here on the right. And we have moved categories and subcategories into an easier to see top menu bar instead of hiding them in a drop down. And this sort of right-hand side will incorporate an endless scroll. Lastly, we're still thinking about what the default landing page should be. At the moment, this version shows the overall NYC average with the option to sort of select the first geography that you want to look into. You'll recall in our previous version, we default to the Upper West Side because it has the highest HCI, but we're still considering other options, including changing which neighborhood is featured on a month-by-month basis, incorporating data stories, which I'll talk more about in a bit. But this is definitely one element that we want to ask you guys about in our breakout groups later on. Here's the view where you select a specific geography and it will highlight in pink. And you'll also be able to see where the geography you've selected kind of lies in the bee swarm. We still have the option to export and share views down in the left corner here. You can see we've kind of increased the customizability of the share tool where you can include to some extent which charts or maps you want to share and what format you want them in. I believe in the previous version, you had to take a screenshot to be able to share instead of just automatically exporting as a JPEG. Instead of across the top in tabs, we'll have all the components of Data2Go listed in the sidebar. Two main new areas are the over time variables, where we hope to show changes in certain indicators over time, and data stories. Here's an example of our new dashboards where you'll still be able to customize the components you choose to add. In this example, there's a plus sign at the top right with the idea being that you can click it to add dashboard components, though we're still working on this. It's kind of a bit hidden up there at the moment. You will still be able to browse dashboard components by topic across the top here to choose modules that you'd like to add to a custom dashboard. We are planning to incorporate a more robust search function into the new Data2Go. Previously, our search only incorporated text matching, but we're planning to do more of a smart search in this updated version. The idea being that if you're the type of person to bypass menus entirely, you can simply search for what you're looking for by topic, population, geography, and more. This is an example of what a search for median income might return, where it shows options for median income by different geographies, populations, or even an example of a dashboard you might be interested in with some related stats below. This is an example of what our change over time plots might look like, where you're able to select certain indicators and geographies, where the pink line indicates the values of the geography you've selected over a period of several years. We also have our comparisons tab, which will be similar to the connections tab on our previous iteration. You'll be able to select two indicators to be compared in a bivariate map as well as a scatter plot. This example shows life expectancy by population, where the darkest green areas have high population and high life expectancy, and the lighter blue green areas have lower values. Lastly, we have our data stories, where we'll delve further into a relationship between variables. This example here is a data story about how community districts with higher incomes have greater tree density, but just a caveat that this is just a placeholder and not a real story yet. So the relationship between trees and median income is not tested, at least by us at the moment. This is what a data story might look like with a bivariate map, images, text, and additional data visualizations that you're able to scroll through. Okay, so I think we're about the time where we're gonna break everyone into groups. I believe Tara is going to put everyone into a breakout group where you'll have 15 to 20 minutes to discuss these 4 questions. Tara, if you can also drop a link in the chat to a Google slide with these questions. So while you all are in your groups, you can reference them. I also would like to ask that you nominate at least one person to share what you talk about when we come back into the larger group. It's up to that person if they want to take notes while you're talking or not. Okay, so I'm just going to read through these questions quickly. Firstly, we're interested in what you want to see on the homepage, whether that's NYC averages, monthly neighborhood features, rotating data stories, or something else. Is there anything in particular you think would make a good data story, or are there any topics you're particularly interested in? Which groups or organizations do you think might benefit from Data2Go or data clinics? As a reminder, data clinics are the short courses for NYC NGOs that cover the basics of how to use data for fundraising, program design, monitoring, and evaluation and storytelling. Or any suggestions for outreach we should know about. And then the last question is kind of just a catch-all if there's anything else that struck you, whether it's things you might find useful to you or your organization, or anything about the UI that you want to comment on. UI meaning user interface design. And when we return, Tara will drop a Google form in the chat to add your name if you want to receive credit on our updated Data2Go site for attending this session, or if you want to hear more from us. So I think that about covers it. Does anyone else from MLA want to add anything before we send them off?
No, just feel free to say, anything you like, but it's super important if you that you nominate somebody to present and also to take notes. And we would love to have any kind of thing you write down about your session, just so we don't miss any good ideas. So thank you.
Cool. Okay, Tara, whenever you're ready, I think we can just break everyone out.